Jean rushed home headlong. Certainly, girls so run indecent. Mother would not praise her, but she needs to show it as soon as possible. She got a diploma and a tattoo. What did she want most in her life? And not only all. Her family was waiting for this event. Jean will be a doctor, and a very good doctor, and everyone knows it. She not just chose this profession, she always knew what will become, who saves lives. More at school. Patch studied everything on my own. What could? Much she didn't understand, and she put it off until later, to come back again and again. Since then, while she, finally, everyone will understand. Mother, she was already a dressmaker. Father worked in a factory. This was an ordinary family, unremarkable, there are thousands. But here is Jean. She was so determined that her parents simply did not doubt that she would achieve everything. What did you think? The woman knew that a festive dinner awaits her at home. Mother and Dad prepared and waited, where to Jean sent to practice. She flew home, like a whirlwind magician. Pope, here Jean jumped and danced, she hugged mother or father. Young woman couldn't calm down. She received a referral to the best hospital in the city. This was, certainly, not Scliffe, but something like. Jean on the first working day came early to start, got to know everyone, a minute to talk. Everyone liked it, openly and sincerely ready to do absolutely any work. At first even simple dressings were not trusted to her, but gradually, very gradually she approached her cherished goal. It's been a few months since that day, how she first crossed the threshold of this hospital. Colleagues already knew that the girl has remarkable knowledge, sometimes even consulted with her, asking, how would she do? Jean spoke, substantiated. All more often colleagues agreed with her. Jean felt that even though mine are not a real doctor, but she already has authority. Then they sent or transferred a new doctor to them. And there was some scandal in the last hospital. Did he fall in love with the head doctor's wife, or is she into him? No one really knew. That's why the seed was kind of mysterious and enigmatic. Just like that, what girls like. Also, he was already a doctor. Let the young, but they talked, which is very, very promising. How only Seed showed up at the hospital, all the nurses immediately increased the weight of the mascara on the eyelashes, lipsticks on the lips, respectively, and the top button on the dressing gowns suddenly stopped fastening for everyone. Jean, as a person, wasn't interested at all. That came here for something else. She came to hone that, what I learned in college. One day Solwell put to help at the reception 7. They worked for a while, communicated only on business, then they brought some rowdy. He virtue, and did not let himself be processed early. Vincent for a while I persuaded him, and then just hit, and Jean froze. In the end, this breaks all the rules, so I am unable to communicate with patients. But how strange, this measure helped. Man settled down, let yourself watch, bandage, and then fell asleep. Jean looked at the local womanizer with completely different eyes. Not only did she not notice, she began to admire him. Vincent at the very beginning of the receptions drew attention to the fact, she's so much prettier. What did he think? Is it true? I saw him only a couple of times briefly, plus she was pretty professional. At the beginning of the day he was upset that they gave him yesterday's inexperienced student as assistants. He noticed that have Jean insanely beautiful eyes, plump lips, and a beautiful figure, though she didn't flaunt it. Vela the girl herself naturally on, and no matter how much she tried to flirt. Maybe, this is what bribed Simeon, who is used to all the girls hanging themselves around his neck. After the reception, he turned to Jean. To me seems, we did a good job. Admit I am pleasantly surprised by your work. Jean embarrassed, thank you, Sol. Allow as part of our first joint working day, invite you for a cup, which is called coffee in our bouquet. She laughed, but how could she refuse such an invitation? They headed to the buffet, accompanied by the displeased glances of the nurses. And the buffet was not called, if only in the staff room for 20 minutes. Jean and Siemens' work also left together. Vincent I hoped for the continuation of their pleasant communication. But she said goodbye at the door of the hospital and ran to the bus stop. Seed and did not say a word, how the girl had already jumped on the bus and waved to him. He stood in confusion, and then chuckled. Well, wow, the first time it's so boring. Zero and. Well, nothing, it's even more interesting. Vincent started taking care of Soldem seriously, and then at home excitedly told the young doctor. Listened and smiled. Similar. And the girl fell in love. It was nice. Jean bloomed before my eyes. Aram, they have already spoken to all the hospitals. Basically, nothing special. Young and a beautiful trainee and a young handsome doctor. All naturally. Only once there was an attempt to interfere in their relationship. Somehow during the night shift Jean talked to Vincent. He was home, and the girl wished her beloved good night. Vincent decided that she is an excellent candidate for his wife. They have a lot in common. He already understands that the girl will not remain a simple doctor for long, and with her knowledge, another future is prepared. This was one plus. Seed always liked to plan everything, and in his plans Jean fit in perfectly. The family will have a great future, and most importantly, Jean didn't want kids. But he'll deal with it somehow. Already the day was appointed. When Vincent came to parents, Jean asked for the hand of their daughter. Only after that Jean for the first time left with Vincent. Having learned that he has 7, he was in such shock, for a while I couldn't even talk, and then felt pride and possessiveness. Now exactly Jean belonged only to him, and no one else. He felt that she now belongs to him even more, than your parents, than yourself. So and was. Young woman completely trusted the guy. So here, on the same duty, when did she talk to with Seeds in the staff room, and their elderly nurse woman Isabella was just washing the floor. Nobody didn't even remembers when she came to the hospital to work. I was younger, in charge of bed linen to bathrobes. How did you retire? Started working as a nurse. Jean put the phone down. How Grandma Adultery straightened up and said, in vain you chose this person, chasing and in him sweetheart. Soul smiled. Well, what do you, Grandma Isabella? Vincent very good, smart, you just don't know him. Maybe I don't know. Like he's never seen in his life. Here, see, he's not like that at all. What do you think? We'll get married soon and everything will be fine. But see. Not cry later, just won't. Vincent came to their house fully armed, with flowers and champagne and gifts. Evening passed unnoticed. Mother shed a little tears, father smiled. More wood, raised such a smart and beautiful woman. Discussed some wedding details, decided that many guests will not be called. She was no longer 7. Parents. Jean is not at the hotel, so there are many more guests from her side. Diverged already past midnight. Jean almost had to send Seeds home. It's a holiday and I am working tomorrow, we won't get enough sleep. And how we will work. But Vincent still pulled her out into the street, and they stood at the entrance for almost an hour. When she came back, Mother had not yet slept. Daughter, and you are happy at home, well and good, it is most important. In the morning Jean came to work in a great mood. They were in the park again with Seeds, they were often put together. Now everyone knew that they will soon become a family. Approximately at lunch they brought a serious patient after an accident. Vincent immediately began to do everything you need to have. Sisters said that this is the son of some influential person. He is not a hotel, to have an influential person at dinner. In one moment Jean stopped Vincent's hand. Wait, I too can cause an unforeseen reaction. Need to do a test. Jean, what kind of stress do you see? Need everything as soon as possible. Vincent, stop, 5 minutes won't solve anything. But I did not listen to her. By 10 minutes it became clear, what is happening what was Jean so afraid of? The patient failed to save the hospital. 2 jeeps have already arrived. Vincent, looking into Janine's eyes, started talking. I will say, what is it, you injected drugs, you are a trainee. Well, make noise and forget, then they will put me in jail and then there is nothing to marry. Seed, what are you talking about? Listen, no time to think. Or you take on this mistake, or we no longer have a future, and you understand it. By an hour everyone was gathered in the office of the head physician. That shouted so that the walls were trembling. Father, the dead man sat silently. When debriefing began, she pulled herself together and said that it was she who initiated the injection. You're a total trainee. How you were right, soul dismissed without the right to practice medicine. Father, the same, who was very influential, approached her, a sentence, you better get out of this city. Here you will never live. If you meet again on my way, then there will be no life at all. Jean dragged home. Mother, seeing her face, almost fainted. Country house, what happened to me, just need to be alone. Please, we are from her. It became pests, and went to the kitchen. Jean lay until the evening. Why does the seed not call so many times? Wrote to him, and the answer came quickly. Jean, do you understand that I don't need a wife, who will be an outcast all her life? Sorry, but we can't be together. To me it is an important career. Jean, I even dropped my phone. This can't be, because she took the blame. In the evening she told her parents. Father immediately got a heart attack, eye oil, and pressure. Hard waiting from Rosin, ran to the hospital head physician. She tried to tell him everything, explain, but he does not listen to her 100%. Me 7, he warned, that everything will be. How you are not ashamed to put your blame on another person. Tell thank you, that the father of that guy did not put you in prison. By a week they buried their father. He couldn't bear it, what happened to his daughter. Mother immediately aged 10 years. More months. Jean tried to find at least some work in the city, but nothing worked. For in such a small town the news was too big. Mother insisted to go to her aunt, she lived in the south. Ma'am, let's go together because of me, and point a finger at you. Not daughter, I will be here, next to Dad from her. You will live there for 5 years, calm down and come back. Wesley, you want, certainly, no matter how Jean's heart breaks, but she understood, what if it stays, it will only get worse. More and more of the mother's breadbaskets will become. Aunt was already aware of everything. Mother, I called and told everything honestly. She screamed and cursed Vincent what the light was on. She helped get Jean to a small window installation company. Paid quite tolerably. Jean sent Mother some money every month, so every time I called and said, to send no more, she has enough. But Jean didn't want to hear anything, and time went by unnoticed. Jean, I was just thinking of returning, how some woman called her, yours mother in hospital, she has a stroke, needs care. Young woman broke. That same day at work entered into a position, released. I immediately did the calculations, as expected. Soul prayed all the way, I thought, why is it all here, their family got, why is God so with them? But I didn't find any answers. Butcher from the train, the hospital immediately rushed and led to the mother, and Jean saw that, what condition is she in, immediately burst into tears. It's time to the fauna. At about 2 o'clock she went home. Need to have things to leave, change clothes. Jean didn't really understand how she could be. Doctor, I said that the mother overcame the crisis, even mine saw it. But recovery will be very long. Yes, it's not clear yet whether the mother will recover completely or not. She had to look after my mother. Not work so long. Your wife had one interesting thought, and she went to the hospital again. After talking to the department head, Jean changed clothes, picked up a mop. They deal, at least, while the mother is in the ward, Jean will work as a nurse. Jean managed to sit all from the mother and feed the sick, wash the floors. At first he was distrustful of the proposal of a young woman, and then I saw how it works, and even rejoiced. Normal nurses didn't go to work. Or a pensioner grandmother, who can't do anything, or you, who disappears for a week after pay, and that 2 on 2. Jean did not disdain such work. When had free time, she was with her mother, had a massage, turned on the soap, and tried to talk. Every day Mom made noticeable progress, and Jean it pleased. It's already been 2 weeks. Nobody is no longer surprised that such a pretty woman with a very smart look works as an ordinary nurse. A bit about what happens in life. Somehow once Jean went to take out the trash. She had already returned from the trash cans, and soon flew into the courtyard of the hospital with the patients, flashing lights running along the beach in the waiting room. Today a young doctor worked in the waiting room, but she saw a more experienced doctor about 5 minutes ago running out of the gate towards the store. Day off. Jean went to the reception. Maybe needing help moving or undressing will help your young girl. She did not see that after the ambulance, 2 more black cars flew into the yard. She entered the waiting room and saw that the doctor was at a loss in front of the men on the gurney. He's not breathing. Jean looked at him in amazement. What, you stand so he is not breathing? Jean rushed forward. She gave orders to the doctor, like she was her boss. I ran around, started taking medication. All that. What did she order? The patient breathed for a few minutes. Because the doctor looked at the same bewilderment. Looked at her and the young man, standing at the door, and his guard. Jean understood. What have you done? She quickly apologized and ran upstairs. The man looked at her, then rushed to, what's on the wheel? How are you breathing? What, it was with me cordial access. Here a second doctor appeared. He looked at everyone guiltily, fussed. Patients took my son to the department an hour later. They said that his father's life is no longer in danger. I've only just begun to understand what happened. If this nurse were not around, then Dad would be gone, like his brother, who died 5 years ago from a medical error. Near an old nurse sat down with him. What depart? Yes, it's a hospital. She already took my brother away from me. It's not the will. Bro died 5 years ago from an injection. Already it hurts me to know your father. Strongly he screamed. Then yes, see how life goes. In that time an innocent girl was accused, removed from the case. And forced to leave the city. This time she saved you and Dad, who I almost killed. Naval looked in surprise at the old nurse. Sorry, what is your name? Yes, everything is a woman. Isabella is called. If you also worked here then. How, I always work here. Why are you saying, accusing an innocent girl, this toilet, this, what is that girl? I do not understand anything. Isabella looked around, sat down comfortably and said from FX, what, listen, I will tell. I am sorry. As you see, the guy is good, maybe you'll get to the truth, but if you need her, this is true. Adultery spoke slowly and with digressions, to make it clear to Roman. Why did you do that, so mother? Then immediately I knew, even though the young woman tried not to leave her department. More strange, what seeds I have not seen. Fired immediately. He spent a year as the head of the department there, and framed the old manager. All know and everyone is silent. Novels listen carefully, sometimes ask questions, where you know that everything was just like that you have not heard. And that's just the point. What did you hear? They are not in operating pains, and here, in the reception room. I just brought clean, just no. Here I heard, how does he persuade her? Why didn't they say, well, you had enough? To her no one believed, she tried, and then the old lady, toilet. Who will believe me? Yes, what is love for? Does she that Mary Seeds at least came out? Yes, where is he? I dumped her, immediately accused. Public throws. Not maybe he is the head of the department, but now she is. Why, the nurse came here really from for him loves. What else is it? Not talk nonsense. Love. If you can love this mother, she's here after her stroke, taking care of her, so that at least some penny was, here is the nurse and moonlighting. Today she accidentally helped you. So it does not go beyond division, does not want to know that she is here. Vincent then will be kicked out immediately, and her mother is here. For some reason I immediately believed this old woman. He was not in the city then, he was abroad, and when he arrived, everything was already finished. He raged then, yelled at my father, why didn't he put that girl in jail? But he answered, son, you won't return, and the girls will break life. Now it opens. An old lady entered. Novel took out the phone. He called my old friend, the chief of police in this city. Sanic, hello, case, I have affection for you, can I drive up? Jean no longer came out due to division. The doctors, who were at the reception, we see, decided not to panic, not to get on gingerbread and not lose your job. Jean, it was just on hand. What the hell, she actually climbed soap her that time. Although now that the nurse will be banned from working, she sat next to her mother. You made some progress today, already able to say a few words. Jean is so happy, all they will be fine. Mother, when they will be discharged, she will find some other job. Now Mom has a full-day pension, how much will it get, here and live? The doctor said that with such a daughter she can be discharged even tomorrow. Only now he will lose the nurse, so no rush. Jean and she did not want to rush, what not to talk about, and the beds here are more comfortable, and medicines at hand, and Jean almost all the time. Today I'm already on night duty. The IN department is very quiet, means it will be possible to sleep. In the evening she went back to her mother, straightened the blanket, and asked, and Amp, quote, do you need something? And Amp, quote, Mother closed her eyes, it means everything is okay. In the morning Jean was just thinking, when I heard a noise. She recognized the loud voice of the head physician. Jean quickly put the mop in the corner, and went to the sink. We'll be changed and sit out for one, until everyone is gone. First, for a month she got caught. Earlier, if the head physician came, she always managed to hide or even was at home. She already sat for 10 minutes behind a closed door, and not only did the noise go away, but also grew. Votes were too much. She already wanted to look, as the door swung open and the head physician stood on the threshold. Where are you? I thought so. Fast to my office. Jean understood that this is the end. Now she will be fired, and she can't be near her mother. Have to take her home. And there were a lot of people in the head doctor's office. Among the people who gathered there, she saw Seeds. Here recovered noticeably, bald patches appeared. He, surprised at how you, even looked at her in fear. Jean decided that she was afraid of nothing, so she didn't do anything wrong. A head physician spoke up. Yesterday an egregious incident occurred in our hospital. When the doctor went about his business. Turns out, we can do that, leaving an appointment for a young doctor with no experience. Although, certainly, lack of experience this is not an excuse. In general, the patient was not assisted, and he went into cardiac arrest. All annuli. Now what, the whole hospital will be shaken, checks, layoffs. But the man went on. Luckily there was a nurse nearby, who brilliantly performed the work of doctors. I was approached by the patient's son with a request to understand. I figured out, truth, they helped me, but today I can say, what's going on in our hospital? Jean, come to me. Vincent goggled eyes. He took a step back, but stumbled upon someone who was standing behind, didn't mean to miss it. He turned around. When he was watched by 2 mules, he immediately understood that this was a security guard and that young man in a suit, who sat next to the head physician. Head physician, let's continue. Case in that this girl gave an injection 5 years ago, from which a person died and was removed from medical practice. This is also my fault. I needed it sorted out, but I believe the man, who at that time was already a respected doctor. But by chance, our nurse saved Chow, the same guy. Jean suddenly realized, why did she think the face of that man was familiar? She also understood, what seems like, the doctor found out something. Her life can change drastically now. Jean Igorevna, I apologize to you. And we will get your job reinstated as soon as possible, and you can finish the practice and get to work. Like a doctor. I will be glad to see you within the walls of our hospital. If you certainly don't hold a grudge. I hear Sid Sergeyevich will have to give explanations and is no longer new to completely different bodies. We have a witness, what happened then? Seed Town Day. It's all slander. Jean admitted herself, no one held her at gunpoint. Why stir up the past that became Rama? Look, you are doing well. By the way, we are a couple here. Or about that, how did the previous manager leave? He will also apologize, and he will be reinstated. Seed, I'll stretch out in surprise, but because I'm already the manager. Novel chuckled. I think you will spend the next few years together. Where a manager is not needed. Seeds taken out of the office. The police were waiting in the hallway. Mrs. Those few did not rush, who has been working since then. She felt how someone took her by the hand. Sorry, could you come with me? Father wants to talk to you, Before it was Roman, he was attentive and a little surprised looking at her. He could not think that she is so beautiful, even a little confused. They headed palace. Elderly the man immediately said, "I beg your pardon. I was in such a state that you don't even understand. Places I will reimburse you for everything and pay for your moral damage to her mother. Treatments in the best clinic. Thank you, son. I managed to save him then. You rescued, maybe that's why, that there was no such Vincent nearby." Jean took him by the hand. "I'm not offended, I understand you are so sad." Herself guilty, believed to go, "Whom did you love?" Novel could not resist. "And now? Now you love him too, you what know he guilty and only of the death of your son, but also the death of my father. I in volume that I spent 5 years away from home, did not see, didn't follow my mom. I don't just dislike him, I hate him." Jean returned to Mother. She told her everything. Not sure that Mother understood, then with difficulty even spoke words, but my mother was in tears. She tried to smile. In the evening, when did she leave the hospital, to go home, and called? It was Roman. "Forgive, can I pick you up or take you?" He looked so embarrassed. It was funny to look at the man, who is over 30 and who is so embarrassed. "I understand, you may not like our family, but—" Jean was glad to see him. Hold the day he robbed her of her mind. "Certainly can. I know a good place, where they sell good coffee."